thank you, Jamie, and welcome, Ray and Chester. Good to have you here. I sorry about the tech hiccup just there as we're starting off. So one of the things that I did as we're starting off, because I'm a stickler for time, is I just had to take a few deep breaths and say to myself, "It is where it is," rather than going to a place of, "Oh my gosh," So that taking my need for perfection away in the realization that so many things can go wrong in at any given time, right? So that's part of the practice. And Chester, can we see you, or use your camera on? Because as I said, I want to make this interactive.
I'm okay for voice, but I prefer not my camera on.
We can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
We can't hear you yet. Maybe you're having an
I
audio
can
Oh,
hear
issue.
you actually,
I
Chester.
can
I
I
can
can
hear
hear him. He's saying that he prefers to leave his video off if you don't mind.
Okay, okay, all right, okay, fair enough. But he can. So if I can't hear him, then there's going to be a problem
Yeah,
to make it interactive with Chester. So I wonder what's that. I can hear you, Ray and Jamie, well,
that's
so
interesting.
I wonder why
I can try
I
reconnecting.
can't hear him.
Should I just try that, Jamie?
Yeah, give that a try, Chester. Try
Okay,
to
I'll be back.
reconnect.
We'll give him a few moments.
But Lalith, you can hear us okay,
Yes, I
right?
can hear you really well.
Okay,
Yes, and
interesting.
Jamie well.
Yeah,
Yes,
because we
yes,
we can hear Chester just nice.
right. So I wonder what. I mean, that's a bit of an odd one, right? Okay, there we go, Chester.
Okay, what about now? Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, perfect, perfect, perfect.
Okay, great.
Good, 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 good. All right. So once again, apologies for starting late. So we are here. We're going to spend about another hour and a half, I presume, or a little bit less, um, in a very intimate conversation on how to stay grounded through difficult situations, through our stressful lives, and especially after hearing the Truth Social or reading the Truth Social last night. Um, if if he goes through with that, we might have a nuclear holocaust on this world. So we might not be around to do all this tomorrow. If it's such a crazy world right now, right? I mean, we don't take it seriously enough, but it's going from bad to worse right now. So one of the things that I want to also say is we know that it's a volatile, uncertain, complex, and an ambiguous world out there. And that is really our daily life. That's a human condition. So I also, one of our survival mechanisms is to be mean and nasty and angry and crazy. But at the same time, we have come here as Homo sapiens for 200,000 years and survived it because we also have a strong sense of loving kindness, empathy, as well as altruism that has helped us to survive all this time. Otherwise, if we didn't have that side in a stronger sense even than the mean and nasty side, we won't be here today. So that's what I build on. So what I want to do is to invite you to just think about what's going on in your mind right now. I don't know whether you've seen the news. I don't know whether you've seen what's going on, and but what's going on in your minds right now. So I invite you to just sort of spend a few moments to just collect your thoughts and see what's happening in your mind, and then whether you can sense any of those in your body too. So I invite you to close your eyes now and follow that thought, whatever that came up. Follow that emotion for a bit and see whether there's a link to that emotion, that thought, somewhere in the body too. Maybe a tightening of your belly or your throat or your chest is burning, or you're blissfully unaware of any of these things and you're feeling good, you're feeling nice, and that's also a good thing. And where is that thought? And how does that sit in your body? I invite you to now focus on your breath and feel the body expand and contract as you're breathing in and breathing out. And what you're doing here is to become present to the here and now by aligning the mind and the body, becoming one with the mind and the body. I'm also going to invite you now to do a little thought exercise for a few more moments. I invite you to think of a place now. I know if we are in Ottawa and it's snowing out there again and it's all white, think of a warm place that you were last summer or someplace out by an ocean or a mountaintop, completely opposite to the kind of weather we're having here. And take your mind out there as a crow flies and situate yourself in that place. And open up your visual sense and take the colors in, the movements in. Open up your hearing sense, take in the sounds. Feel the temperature of that place as the wind blows. Feel it in your hands, your arms, your face, your hair. You're feeling your clothes on your body. And you're smelling the place. And you're now tasting the place. So you got all your five senses down there. Take it in for a few more moments. And I invite you to now fly back as a crow flies and hover above where you're sitting now and watch yourself, see yourself seated in front of that computer and slowly penetrate the roof and find yourself being aware of the top of your head, your forehead, and the back of your head, your eyes, and stay there for a moment. See whether your eyes are tense. See whether your forehead is tense and tight. If it is, just take a deep breath and see whether you can dissipate that tightness from that forehead. Release that energy. And release your eyes. Let gravity take over your facial muscles. Noticing your mouth, letting your mouth go, letting gravity take over if you're holding it tight shut. Your jaw muscles, just releasing it. And as you move down the back of your head, back of your neck, another area that can hold some tension, taking a couple of deep breaths there. Dissipate any tension that's there, your throat, your shoulders. Moving your shoulders if you feel a little bit of tension there. And feeling your arms flopped on your thighs or side of the chairs, just gravity taking over your upper body, moving along your torso to your belly area and your lower back, your abdomen, lower abdomen. And as you're seated on that chair, feeling it being supported, and be aware of your buttocks being supported, the back of your legs, and as you move along the back of your legs to your knees and along the shin to your ankle, and feel both feet grounded solid on this earth, on the ground. So what you did was you took your mind away from the body, as our mind often does, on autopilot, but you did it now with attention, with awareness, and then you brought that mind back, all those senses back, and entered your body. So this was an indication as to how your mind can fly away based on your six senses. I say only worked with five there. So these six senses are like having six horses in front of you in a chariot, and you're holding all the reins. But the seeing horse goes in one direction. As you're watching something, you hear a sound, and the hearing horse will go in another direction, and the taste horse will go in another direction. The smelling horse will go in another direction. The intuition horse will go in another direction. So these horses are constantly going in different directions, being driven by whatever we see, hear, smell from the outside world. So we are out of control. It's like a 2 year old going all over the place, and what you just did was to bring that 2 year old to your lap and say, calm down. Let's sit quietly for a few moments. So you're right now with your mind and body aligned, you're focusing on your breath, and feel your body expand and compress as you breathe in and out. Now I invite you to focus your attention at the tip of your nostril. And as your breath goes in that passage of your nose, just watch it going in and out of your body across that passage of your nostril. See whether you can hold that for a few moments. Just hold that attention. Hold that focus. Now, if your mind wanders away, it's okay. Be gentle with it. This is not a competition with yourself. Our minds can be incorrigible. Just be gentle. Just become aware of that thought, because sometimes the mind wanders away on autopilot, you don't even realize it. And then you bring it back gently and refocus your attention on the passage of your nostril. Now, if you can bring your focus a little bit more to a point at the tip of your nostril, and see whether you can watch the breath going past that tip, past that point. And again, if the mind wanders, gently bring it back. So what you're doing right now is to really get a hold of that wandering mind, tempering it, learning to govern it. Because once you learn to govern your mind, that's a superpower that's evolving in you. Because then you can manage your emotions much better. So if you're still having a little bit of trouble keeping that focus, I'm going to add now and help you with a training wheel. I invite you to count your breath up to 11. So the in and out breath is 1, and up to 11. Once you reach 11, come back down to 0. All right, so I'm going to stay quiet and allow you to do this. So if you come to 0, just stay there for a few moments. Just feel your body. It might be in a calmer, more collected, peaceful place, your mind and your body. And now I invite you to take 3 deep breaths and feel as if you're filling your entire body all the way down to your toes. And when you're breathing out, feel free to make a bit of noise and let go of any tension that's remaining behind. So, all right, so let's just start with the three deep breaths. I'm going to mute myself. Stay there for a few moments and just feel that calmness. Just relish in that for a few moments. You've shut the past, shut the future, you're present to the here and now. I invite you to open your eyes now. Okay. Nice to see you, Moses and Anthony. Welcome. I trust you got to do a little bit of the mindfulness exercise. So if you can put your cameras on, and it'd be lovely to see you because I'm going to make this interactive. So I want to hear your thoughts on how that went for you. So Ray, any thoughts from you?
It's always good to be reminded of this practice. Used to do it like maybe years ago, but I haven't done that. So it's a good reminder and bring it back to what you can do to really control your emotion, your thoughts, and so on, and not just let you know things moving so fast that you don't pause and remind yourself of this.
Mhm, mhm. Yes, yes. It's easy to let go. Like it's like anything else. If you stop exercising on a daily basis, your body will turn into flab. So it's a practice that one needs to keep on a daily basis. That's what I advocate. Chester, any thoughts from you?
The place I picked probably wasn't the best. It didn't smell great, so I picked a new place. It
Right.
was nice and peaceful, but it wasn't smelling perfect.
Okay, good, good, good. Yes. It's just an illustration of how the the mind can be managed, right? So Anthony, please go ahead.
No, I jumped in probably wrong time. It's a busy day. I'm out shopping over here, so I jumped in. I was like, oh, I actually it's it. I had to kind of concentrate, but no, what I enjoyed that. What I like, I assume we're going to get a recording of this. Is that right? Or we're going to get a copy of that?
Yes, yes, yes.
So,
There we
but
record.
yeah, I've done stuff like this, but this was a good reminder. Something I want to kind of utilize. Funny enough, you'll be my voice, I guess, when I feel frustrated or stressed. Yeah, the
So,
breathing. I remember that progressive breathing. I used
yeah,
to do, and it reminded. Yeah, I need to get back into that for sure.
right, right. Thank you, Anthony. If we walk away from this inspired to say get back into a practice that you had just sort of let go, I've achieved my objective. So Moses, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I've done a few of these before, but the one that I really liked was the focusing on the tip of the nose. That one really helped bring me back into the moment because it even gave like a physical focus point to keep your attention on as well.
Mhm,
So I like that part a lot.
mhm. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Moses. Jamie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think similar to what Ray suggested was this sort of something that you sometimes lose sight to do this on your own, and so it's good to be reminded of like just how easy it can be, just to kind of bring yourself back. I think being present is the word that I often find myself be, whether it's distracted through my phone or through all the like, even as I'm doing this I'm getting alerts for work and stuff on my
Right.
computer, so trying to like make sure it stays grounded. But I really liked, similar to Moses, the focus on the nose not so much, but I really liked how you sort of had us sort of looking at ourselves sitting at our desks from above. That really helped ground me too. It's just sort of to visualize myself from that vantage point was really interesting.
Mhm, mhm. Yes, and it is a very simple process, right? Our breath is our life force. So if you make it our best friend, we can do a lot of things with that. So I want to just relate that to our day-to-day lives in terms of our interactions with people. And as Jamie, you said, whatever that's popping up on your computer that's drawing your attention. So whatever that happens from the outside, you and I have absolutely no control over, right? So even to find ourselves to come together here for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, is really difficult for us. So we see how the outside world just steals our time, and that stealing of time is lost for the here and now, right? As soon as it's gone and you're on to the next thing, it's gone onto the next thing. And I'm 67 years old, and I'll tell you, it goes fast, man. It goes fast. And if you don't grab a hold of your life all along the way, and I'm fortunate that I was taught this stuff at an early age. As a 12-year-old, I was taught some fundamentals by a Buddhist monk about uncertainty and impermanence, and then was taught the meditation, because I was all over the map. I have ADD, and I'm as a kid too. I was very emotional. I was impulsive, and even as an adult, right now I'm juggling 20 different things at the same time because of my need to have that attention all over the place. But the only thing that has saved me is this mindfulness exercise all along my life. So it started really. I grew up in Sri Lanka. I moved to Canada when I was 14, and at that time, brown people like me in 1973 were bullied. And as a 14-year-old, my first day outside my apartment building, I got beaten up by three guys, and threw the packy bomb on me and told me to go home. I didn't even know what it meant, right? So, and I could fight even in Sri Lanka. I was into rough sports. I played rugby, under 13 rugby, and all that. So I became a very angry, nasty kid. So this took over me in the streets of Toronto. So I get in a bus and somebody stare at me and I get angry, and it just, I got into so many scrapes until a buddy of mine's elder brother, who was like the toughest guy in the neighborhood. He was into kung fu, he was into Bruce Lee and the nunchakas and the whole works. He kind of took a shining to me because I like to lift weights. So he'd invite me to his basement and we'd lift some weight. He tried to talk me to come to the dojo, and I avoided it, right? Until one day he had to save my butt. And then he said, "You're coming to the dojo." So he, 8 in the morning, he buzzed my apartment. I go to the dojo, and Lung Wong was a sensei, amazing guy, and there were 11 guys. This is 1975 in Toronto, in a in an old community center. It was like out of a movie. There was a boxing ring there. He said, "So you wanna learn kung fu?" I said, "Yeah." I was really nervous and scared. And then he gave me a pair of boxing gloves and a hockey helmet, put me in the ring, and there were 11 guys there. They worked me for 5 seconds each. I was legless at the end of it. But that was my initiation. I fell out of the ring virtually, and Sensei came and said, "Do you want to stay or do you want to go?" I wanted to go and get under my bed sheets, but thought I better stay. So I had been introduced to the meditation mindfulness practice as a way of finding grounding and managing my emotion and finding some clarity. And I was kind of getting into it, but not 100%. I was reading about it. My father meditated, so he gave me some books about it too. So there, then once everybody introduced themselves, we all took did a couple of breathing exercises, and then everybody sat cross-legged. And I thought, okay, this is funny. Anyway, the sensei was cross-legged in front. He did the same thing I did virtually by taking us through a meditation. And my whole question was, what does meditation have to do with kung fu and fighting? Right? And that's when the penny dropped after a few weeks. And that, right, okay, when I get punched and I get angry, I lost the battle. So I learned, one of the best gifts I got was that, learning that I could manage my emotion through this practice. And I'm in that ultimate situation of a battle, and I can manage that emotion when I get punched. And I started going to, about 6 months down the road, I started going to competition, because he just threw us into the deep end, right? And what he said was, from the morning you just stay in your breath. That's why you see boxers when they come on, they're not looking around. They're into themselves, right? They're not getting intimidated by their opponent. So that was the same thing. So it has become a part of my life strategy. I'm an entrepreneur. I am dealing in all kinds of really difficult ventures right now, high stakes internationally, between whatever that we did in GCC is going, just getting blown up. So a lot of time and effort, money put into so those businesses are right now, it may end up nothing. So I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, because I just go into this whole practice and say, okay, you know what? There's no point worrying about it, right? So our thoughts are such that, so external events happen, and I asked you to think about something that was going on in your mind, and that would be triggered by an external event, right? So what happens first is, when somebody says something to you that you don't like, or when you see something you don't like, that's what's called the first contact, right? So the first contact is is then you become alert to it, and the next trigger is, I like this, I don't like this, or I'm neutral. It's There are only three ways you can go after that first contact, and that decision that we make on autopilot will take us through a whole bunch of other things. So if I can catch myself at the first contact, somebody said something to me that I didn't like. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. But if you can grab it before it gets into your emotion, gets into your ego, and then you react with whatever that reaction comes in. So emotion, I don't like this. Oh, this is crazy. Anxiety is coming. I'm getting angry. So now contact, that reaction, and the emotion rises out of that, right? So by that time, you lost control. You're on autopilot. And then it becomes the power between the two of you, in terms of the escalation. And if you have more power, you'll escalate and you'll end up winning. If you don't have power, then you will diminish yourself, because you will know that you don't have power. You'll you'll internalize that emotion, and then it'll stress you out even more, right? So this is a daily thing for us as human beings interacting in the world out there. So I use the metaphor of three arrows. So it's the first arrow you have no control over. It comes in, it whacks you. The second arrow, you can catch it if you can train your mind to catch it before you get angry, or before you go into that emotion. So as soon as you realize, okay, I don't like this, what I have trained myself to do as best as I can, and I've still failed many times, is I take a deep breath and try to say observe. So as say, I practice it at home. The best place to practice is with your loved ones first, because they get under your skin, right? And we get under their skin. It's so easy because we take this relationship for granted, whether it's kids or loved ones, parents. So if I really started practicing this after I got married, because after getting together as a couple, things start to go wrong, because they see your vulnerabilities, they see your weaknesses, they see uh, you leave your toothpaste tube open, and the towels on the ground, and so the it all starts. And that's the the, the storming that starts, right? So so then, in any relationship, things can go get worse from there, unless both of us agree to manage our emotions. Both of us agree to then compromise, and to accept each other for their strengths and their weaknesses too. And that's how we can find that band that we can work within, of tolerance. And that takes a lot of work. And that's where the practice also helps to get into that zone of acceptance, and not to find perfection, because there's no perfection. and to get out of that notion of always being judgmental. And when you start with your family, then you can bring it out to your professional life too, right? So as I said earlier when I started off, everything is volatile, everything is uncertain, everything is complex, and everything is ambiguous. And if with this practice you also accept that reality of life, it becomes again a little easier, right? So as I said, the first arrow comes, I have no control over that. So then I can, if I can catch myself before I react with a deep breath, and my practice is to take a deep breath and say observe to myself quietly as I am feeling that, okay, I don't like where I'm hearing, I don't like where this is going. I just take a slow deep breath and say observe, and that enables me to be present immediately. And that presence enables me some options. I am in control now. I've shut the autopilot off. So what you did was to shut the autopilot off, just like a pilot going into turbulence shuts the autopilot off to take control of the plane. I am shutting my autopilot off and taking control of myself. So I can respond skillfully. Even if I want to say something now or even scream, I'm doing that as a part of a strategy. So that's what I'm proposing in terms of how this can help in our day-to-day lives. And I'm going to share with you a small practice too before we end today, with a small little exercise that I do, where I've derived this whole practice of taking a deep breath and saying observe and exhale. Right? Just try that. Just take a deep breath as I'm listening to you, to your own self, and say observe to yourself and exhale. And I know some of you are distracted, but let's see, as soon as you do this, right, you become present to the here and now, right? Whatever that's happening around you is nullified. And that's a superpower. You have a choice now, right? You have a choice to respond rather than react on autopilot. If you react, the other person has more power over you, right? And that's the same way in martial arts too. If I react and get angry, I got punched, and I just start swinging, I lost my power. So this is all about keeping my power to myself, right? And if they also keep their power to yourself, then we can have harmony, right? We can find common ground and find a way out of this problem, this issue. So that's essentially the simple little process that I'm talking about. And it's about then creating what's called a limbic connection with your client, right? You have the first contact. You're making now an impression. You're making a limbic connection. So you're finding that common ground. You're picking up cues because your subconscious mind is always so alive, picking up all the cues. Oh, they're doing this. I can see it. I can see maybe they don't like what I'm offering. I'm trying to read into that. All of that is throwing us off balance. If you're trying to sell something to somebody, if you're negotiating something with somebody, right? Because there's so many signals coming at you. If you can keep your focus and you know what your purpose is and your objective is, and you keep that focus, no matter what signal they're showing you, you're reading it, but you're not reading into it. You're seeing it, okay, that might be a signal, but it's not throwing you off your game. It's not distracting you. You're keeping your focus, right? So keeping that breath and being aware of that breath right throughout the conversation. You're not distracting yourself. You're listening, you're hearing what they're saying. Even better, because you're now fully aware. Your mind and body are aligned. It's not going in different directions. You're reined in all those horses. It's a superpower for you to really now be able to take that discussion. So I talked about what's called the limbic resonance. So you then create what's called a limbic resonance between you and the person in front of you, right? Once you make that limbic resonance, then you can get into what's called a limbic regulation. Now, if you want to now advocate something, sell that person something, once you create the resonance, you're building trust, you now can regulate this and advocate something, sell them something, and engage it, but you're doing it with complete awareness of watching their reaction because you're present to the here and now, right? And see how they react. And if they're pushing you back, you're not getting upset or anxious about it. No, you're taking a deep breath now, and you want to take another tack now, right? Because you have the ability to do this. You have options within you. But if you get narrow at this time and get stressed out, your options are going to diminish. You want to keep your options open. You want to keep your arms out like this in this conversation, and you keep the power as best as you can, because they are also trying to keep their power, right? So that way, you are really you making use of these simple little practices in a very practical way in our day-to-day lives. And that's what I'm advocating, because the world will be a much better, more harmonious place if you and I, take responsibility for our own emotions, right? That's the way I approach it, right? Any questions, any comments? What's going on in your minds? Any examples that you want to share with me? I'm gonna ask everybody to speak now. So, Anthony, any thoughts from you?
Well, you're forcing me to talk. Like I have to
Yes.
talk then. No, I mean, no, yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I was going through it yesterday, where I was talking to a couple of people as I go through some challenges in my business per se, where it's like forecast. And, my challenge is I look too far out, right? And I'm always saying, you read the books of being in the now and like what you were saying, right? But I mean, I'd be curious to see. I mean, you've been around the block for a bit. So, right now I talked to a few folks and they said, like, right now is really bad, right? When like I was talking to a business owner who deals with astronautics, and they literally said, even the astronautics were billionaires, they're telling their staff to skimp down, right? So when you hear it from those types of people that they're skipping down, that's a bit of a concern, right? To say the least. And I'm comparing it again, comparing it to the pandemic, because that was probably the biggest hit I certainly encountered as I got into the workforce per se, right? But I do understand, like you were saying, like everyone tells me, right? It's all ebbs and flows. This is not it's a big deal, but it's not a big deal that this is life. It will happen. And for me, I look at the gas price. I'll use that great example where it was $1.50 and then $1.80. Now, I wasn't that concerned. I'm concerned, but I don't drive a lot. But I wasn't as concerned when it hit 170, because in my mind I said I faced the times. I think it was pandemic when it hit at least $2. So to settle my mind, I said, look, you've dealt with it. It's not good, but you've even dealt with the $2 rate. We're not even close to there at that time per se, but even now, I think Costco is at $2 or 180 on the premium side. So I'm like, look, there's nothing to worry about now. It'll probably go up to two, but what's the point of worrying about this now, right? And as I think about, guys, I mean, that's if I can model that on more stuff that I'm dealing with, then that's my biggest challenge, right? Because I'm A type, I want control. Then for sure it would be better, right? Um, but yeah, I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on that, right? Like, is it really? Do you
Yes.
see it
Yes.
really that bad after all these years you've been in business, whether international or not?
Well, Anthony, thank you for sharing those views. Yeah, I mean, I've seen the worst of the worst. I built a business in the middle of a war in Sri Lanka, and when a suicide bomber hits, you think the whole world ends. And but I know it's my mindfulness exercise, that the daily exercise, and keeping my mind and body aligned, and sort of feeling safe within myself, having that power within myself, that enabled me to go through those difficult times. Four kids, earning money, self-employed. I don't have a pension. I don't have social security or anything like that, right? So, and living a life, not as a poor person, sending the kids to good schools. And so I've been through this up and down in life, right throughout my life, and I know it's the power of this practice that's helped me to even be creative, to pivot, because I know if I'm going in one direction, I have so many more skills that I can now think about this and that. I have done so many different things, even going out of my comfort zone to survive and make money. because holding on to what you're doing right now uh, is not a smart thing to do. But it's difficult to get to that space if you're really narrow in your mind, and if you're stressed out and just focused, you're not able to become creative in opening up those opportunities. So even I'm ready to go and drive a taxi if I have to, right? So that's the freedom of the mind that you gain when you can sort of bring in that self-awareness and the trust in yourself that you have a mind and a body, you have sound mind to really do something. And that's an important part of it too. So Anthony, it's also being creative to see, okay, this door seems to be closed at the moment. What else can I do? What are the other skills that I have? And what kind of a safety net do I have to help me to survive through this, right? So all of those things, when I put them in perspective, because I was living in a war zone where the war was going crazy, 150 miles away from where I lived in relative safety. The worst that happened to me was suicide bombers or gunfights on the road, or seeing seeing checkpoints. It was normal. My heart would always skip a beat when I'm driving up to a checkpoint, because you never know what's going to happen. Emergency regulations, right? But you go to that checkpoint feeling nervous, they'll feel that nervous energy on you. So I just used to take a couple of deep breaths as I'm driving to the checkpoint, and I'm angry at the whole situation. And if my words come out with any tension or anger, they've got the upper hand on me, right? So I find myself just smiling and say, hey, how are you? Yes. I say, ID, please. And most times when you respond, or when you react or respond with a smile, they calm down themselves, right? But it takes work for me to get to that stage before driving up to a checkpoint. So
Yeah.
so
Okay.
so that's where it's a lot of hard work. Inner work is hard work. We take it for granted. We've taken this breath and our body and mind for total granted, and we're out there doing things out there without first looking after and building this core. So that's the way I approach it. Thank you for bringing that up, Anthony. I hope that kind of gives you, through that story too, gives you a little bit of a insight as to where I'm coming from.
Yeah, that's good.
Moses, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, so for me, the part that I could really see and like acknowledge was the part about the limbic resonance. And because I've worked a sales job, and that, like, as you were saying, like, you have to build that common ground and credibility in like a very short amount of time. And you really do feel when you finally beat their contradictions, and you feel that alignment, and you feel like you're leading them along the path that you're supposed to take. So I guess my question would be how to get better at that. Is it just a matter of being more in the moment?
Absolutely, Moses. It's just keeping that practice going. Now, the practice is not just sitting there and meditating and focusing your mind. That's a way to manage your mind. It's like learning the scale and the piano, right? So the scales. So when you learn the scales, you know what C sounds like, F sharp sounds like. You have consonants between that sound and the inner ear, right? And then you can start playing music. So why I advocate a daily practice to begin with, and what I advocate for those of you who have dropped the practice or starting fresh, is to, if you get up at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning, getting up 5 minutes earlier and going to the washroom, drinking a glass of water, whatever it is, but don't drink coffee yet, and sitting in a place. You can sit on a chair or a cushion, and that is your safe space, right? And you sit there and keep keep an alarm for 2 minutes, right? And that alarm That those 2 minutes, if those 2 minutes feel as if it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you're now learning to grab a hold of your mind. You're learning to now manage your mind, because your mind, our minds are incorrigible. In those 2 minutes, you will remember things. You go, oh, I got to do that. Maybe I should take a note of that. Resist that temptation and stay there for 2 minutes. So you're learning now to tame the mind, the incorrigible mind. And some of us are much better at it naturally than others. I needed a lot of work, because I still do need that daily practice, because my mind is just all over the place. So it's just daily practice that helps me to bring that mind together, and stay, and keep it together. So you start with 2 minutes, and you do it for 21 days. And you got to be disciplined with this. This is a gift that you're giving to yourself. It's a compassionate practice that you're doing for yourself. You sit there for 21 days, and if you feel that, okay, you've conquered the 2 minutes now, you can now add another minute. And at the end, if you can end up with a practice of just saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to sit here for 10 minutes, let the world go by. Because right now what's happening is the world is running us. As soon as we pick this up, that's the end of that. That's the end of my power, right? It took you over, and I'm on somebody else's agenda. So I'm constantly fighting to get back my power, which seems to be taken out, uh, away by somebody else every moment of the day. So I'm sitting there and saying, no, 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 hang on a minute. No, I'm just going to take this time for myself. This is my time. So doing that actually is thumbing, up, telling the world, okay, look, I'm going to do this on my terms, right? And that's what you're starting to do then. So it and this whole notion that we have since the clock was invented, right? Our humans, us humans are inventors. We want to find new things. We want to go to the next stage, but we have become too smart for our own good right now. The very same technologies that we developed to help us is now controlling us. It's gone beyond now, right? So the clock is what started all this whole notion of efficiency, time efficiency. And that time efficiency is, on your deathbed, you sit there and you look back at what you did. You need to answer to yourself, you know, did I live for somebody else? Did I waste my life? Did I do well by others? Was I generous? Was I loving and kind to others? Because it's not only the meditation and the mindfulness practice, it's also the way you show up and live in the world with compassion, with empathy. That's a part of that. Then once you, one of the things that happens when you meditate for a while is to you realize the truth of everything is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Once you can read that, right? It's like reading about swimming. But once you get into this practice and start living life mindfully, you embody the notion of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And then it doesn't scare you anymore. That's the norm. So that's the way I approach it. Right? Yes, you like it better. You like it to be more certain, but you know underlying thing is with life is that it's uncertain. And that's that understanding, that awareness. Once you gain that wisdom and accept the fact that everything is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, and in that system I'm trying to find anchors of certainty. And anchors of certainty are important. Anchors of certainty are, is this home, is this heat that's coming out of the vents. Those are the anchors of certainty. But also knowing that one power cut can knock everything out, just like whatever happened with technology just now before we started too, right? So so all of that is accepting that without going down the rabbit hole of, oh man, life is crazy, life is nuts, it's no good. All of those things that we then drive ourselves into a tizzy, into a stressful situation, which is not good for us, because when we are stressed out, it's actually killing us from within, because there's cortisol and adrenaline that gets pumped in when we are stressed out. There's the heart rate goes up, blood pressure goes up. And in the modern world, we are not dealing with our stress because we are still 200,000-year-old Homo sapiens whose threats were very physical. Get caught up with a saber-toothed tiger and you got to fight it off, or run up a tree or whatever it is. That's very physical. You dissipate that stress energy through physical activity. Over the last 100 years, all of this stuff has come and we don't have physical activity. This is the biggest killer, right? So we are living in a anxious society, with a slow burn of anxiety, constantly in stress, constantly adrenaline and all of this stuff is coming up, and blood pressure is up, cholesterol is up. So we put chemical solutions in, you know, pop a pill and neutralize that without going back to the basics. First, start with how do you look at your life force of the breath first. Because that's the first place you can think of. If you're breathing well into your belly, that means you're getting a good hit of oxygen. Many of us are just breathing on into the chest. So just try putting one hand on your chest and your belly and see how you're breathing. If your chest area is coming out, or if your chest and belly are both coming out, that's okay. But if it's only your chest and some people are just breathing from the shoulders, you're not getting all the oxygen you need into your lungs. It's like the air fuel mixture in the carburetor days. If it's rich, you're gonna sputter, right? So that's what's happening. We are sputtering, most of us, because we are unaware of our breathing patterns. Even when we're breathing all the way to your lungs, then our blood is oxygenated, our heart's working well. When our brains are oxygenated with oxygenated blood, we have the most clarity, we have the most IQ to deal with our daily lives too. So that's what I am, in a very simple way, advocating here. So Chester, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I was thinking about it as you're going through it, and I was like, these things I practice them a little bit in my own in terms of uh, instantaneous situations, but I have a harder time applying them to more drawn out decisions where I have to decide between two one way doors. You choose one of these, it's going to affect not just you but many people, kind of things.
Yes, yes, yes. And it's only normal, Chester, because those longer term, the bigger problems are much more complex. We have to break them out into smaller pieces to even deal with it, right? So so when you quiet your mind down, most of my wisdom comes in the middle of the night. Like I have a bit of a crazy. I don't expect people to follow my crazy 2 hour mindfulness and exercise practice daily. I need to do that, otherwise I feel sick. Right now I'm suffering a little bit of a back pain because I just pulled my back a little bit. So yes, I could go into that place of, oh no, and I got to drive tomorrow to Montreal. The moment I started thinking about that, I said, oh man, it's crazy. I went into a place of worry, but I had to then take a couple of deep breaths and say, no, I'm going to be proactive with this. I'm going to do things that hopefully will ease that back pain by the time I get into the car tomorrow. So I can take the high road or the low road. I have a choice there, right? So so this is the same thing, just as you said. It's great that you can deal with immediate stuff. That's a good skill to have. And how can you now slowly extend that? And what I say is, when you have a daily practice where you shut yourself down for at least 10-15 minutes every day, and you say, this is my time, my sacred time. And I do, as I said, I have 2 hours. When I wake up, I drink water and go to the washroom, and I do Wim Hof breathing exercises every other day, and I do my push-ups, sit-ups, a lot of yoga stuff, and then I do a meditation. But then I also do another crazy thing. At my age, you got to get up in the middle of the night to go to the washroom. So at about between 3 and 4, I come back. I slow my breath down to the count of um, 14 in, 18 out. Because if you're stressed out, if your out breath is longer than the in breath, it can be 6 and 8. If you're feeling stressed out and you want to calm yourself down, if you're breathing in even 3 breaths, 3 counts, breathe out 6 or 8. That'll take you to a more relaxed position. Your blood pressure will go down. It'll open up the world again for you to think a little clearly, right? So I do that exercise where I really slow down my metabolism to such a level. And then about 6 months ago, I started holding my breath. So I take an in breath and I hold my breath to a count of 60. And then I take an out breath, exhale, and I hold my breath to a count of 36. That's a maximum, right, that I do so far. So that really, I have been able to get rid of a bad throat coming on, a flu coming on by doing this in the middle of the night. I've done it like because what happens is when you do this count, your body starts heating up. You feel the your body heats up, and then there's a point there. I'm not advocating for everybody to do this. I'm just saying the possibility. There's a point there when I get into a place where I'm getting a cold, but I can't afford to have a cold. I'm running a training program in 2 days. I just fight it out, and I manage to find that space where I go over the hump, and I'm in a bath of sweat. I had a bit of fever, and I know that I have now crossed that line. And it's that hardcore breathing practice that enabled me to do that, right? But at the same time, I'm also, this is a warning label, right? Going into these practices can also be fraught with danger in terms of bringing up past fears, past hurts. And if those come up, you go to a place, a dark place, you need to stop. That's a realization that you need some outside help too, if you're willing to address those issues. Or if you want to just shut it down and continue, that's also fine, because your life, you got things to do, you got commitments, you need to carry on. So that's the warning label that's out there, right? So Jamie, any thoughts from you?
I mean, as I've been following along, I mean, I was reminded even just this morning or yesterday, I was technically off because it was a holiday, and I got an email from a client and put me in a mood, and I didn't have any need to read it yesterday because I was off. But you got that the ping, and then you look at it, and now I'm stressed, and I'm on my day off, and I'm like, oh, I need to respond to this, but I didn't need to respond, and I didn't need to deal with it, and there was no reason why I needed to stress out about it because I just kind of put it in the back of my mind, went back to playing with my kids. And then this morning I looked at the email again and I realized like my initial reaction was probably too emotional. And I'm glad I didn't respond when I did because it was just not in the right mindset. And now having read it, realized it wasn't nearly as important as I had originally thought. And so I addressed it first thing and now it's over. So it's sort of just like, I think taking the time needed to consider how you're reacting to things logically versus emotionally, I think is sometimes all you need. And sometimes it requires you to like take some breaths, and sometimes it's just, you know what, that's not urgent. I can just see, I'll review it tomorrow in a different headspace. And sometimes environment matters. And I was really upset because it came to me on a day when I was playing with my kids and I was my day off, but it was a perfectly normal work email, and it came from someone who wasn't celebrating Easter in another country. So for them, they didn't really know that it was a holiday. So yeah, I think just context really for a lot of things too. I think we take things really personally, and there's a lot of sort of space for us to kind of just realize like it's not really about us. It's more about
Mhm.
the situation and how we react to them.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love that little story, Jamie. In terms of how you, so it's all about interfering with that stress pathway, right? You made up your mind and you said, okay, you know what, I'm going to go and play with the kids, and as long as you were paying it full attention to them, but I'm sure your mind was every so often getting dragged
Yeah.
there. It's only natural. That's only natural. So you had to just stay, and I just say, shut up, just cancel that, right? I'm just going to try to pay attention here. And again, it takes you back. It's just battle that you have on a daily basis. So what I'm doing is not perfection. It's just yet another tool for us to live our lives in a more skillful way. So what I want to do in the next little while is I'm just going to share some slides that I prepared. So I'm going to share the screen. If anybody has any questions or comments in the meantime, please feel free to disturb me, and you're not disturbing me at all, right? So can everybody see the slides?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I see your screen, but I assume the
Okay.
slides will be there soon.
Yeah. Can you see the slides now?
Okay, no, you're only sharing
No.
Chrome.
Yeah. You saw it, right? It's there.
No, no, no. We only see
Yeah.
Chrome. Well, I only see Chrome.
Oh,
Yeah, we don't see anything.
You're showing us your view, so we're just getting that mirror, that infinite mirror effect.
oh, okay, okay. So how do I? Okay, how do
When
I?
you're doing it, just choose entire screen or choose the
Oh,
correct window.
entire screen. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
that's
Yeah,
Thank
or
probably
you.
the easiest.
See,
choose the tab or the file that you want
Right.
specifically.
okay, PowerPoint. Okay, let's see. How's that?
There you go.
Yeah, you got the right one.
Okay. See, that's why I like hanging out with these techies. So right. So I just also want to introduce to you some of the latest neuroscience in terms of brain, how the brain is configured. So this is no been known for the last 30, 40 years, but nobody has really taken a deep dive into this until about say 25 years ago. And one person who has done really with great skill is a psychiatrist called Ian McGilchrist. And Ian McGilchrist is a philosopher. He knows theology, he knows history. So he's bringing the brain science into that context of life. And the left hemisphere of the brain is where most of us in the modern world, the techno-industrial AI world, is stuck in, right? Because we, as I said earlier, as soon as you put a clock into this, we go to the left hemisphere of the brain because we are fighting, we are running against something. So for most of us who grew up in urban areas where parents said, if you better go to school, study good, get grades, otherwise you're going to end up like a beggar, we are all stuck on the left hemisphere of the brain. And the left hemisphere of the brain likes to have things certain. It's there for a purpose. There to grab the food and eat. It's a survival mechanism. It's also there if you want to go from A to B, it'll go from A to B. It doesn't care about who you step on. It'll step on people, it'll hurt people, will get that job done. So it doesn't put things into context. Whereas the right hemisphere puts things into context. If it needs to go from A to B, it'll consider what it's stepping on and go around it, even if it wastes time. If it says not as efficient, it doesn't matter. It'll put things in perspective and context, and it'll become aware and pay attention to everything around us as best as possible to live in harmony. Whereas the left hemisphere doesn't care about harmony, gets the job done. If you can't get it done, it becomes self-righteous and angry and all that too. So just think about the world right now. If you go into social media right now, you can imagine that most of these people are stuck on the left hemisphere in the way they react, short-term thinking, right? So, and violence that's coming out of that. So this is what it is. So what people like Ian McGilchrist say is that take a deep breath, say observe, and get to the right hemisphere of the brain, because his book called The Master and the Emissary, he says the master, as long as the master is the left hemisphere of the brain, we're going to have this society which is now heading towards an incredible disaster if we are continuing this way. When we take a deep breath and say observe and come to the right hemisphere of the brain, we can really see, oh my gosh, we've been going on a wrong distance, wrong place. I can now even admit to my mistakes, and I can pull back, I can say sorry, I can forgive, and all of those things are possible from the right hemisphere of the brain. So nobility and the good thinking, truth, beauty, and goodness comes from the right hemisphere of the brain. So what we are saying is the right hemisphere should be the boss. Give the work to the left hemisphere, get it done, and take the power back, is what we're saying. So what I'm really excited about is the modern neuroscience says that it's mindfulness practice and going into the breath and going inward and the inner world, inner practice is what enables us to get a hold of the left brain and get to the right side and become whole brain. So I talked about this. This is what I talked about now. This I'm showing you this in a graphic, is that contact we have no control over. And before thought arises, what happens is as soon as contact happens, three things, right? I like this, I don't like this, I'm neutral about it. And that then drives us into our memory, the conditioning, all that comes in. So our thought will arise based on that. Our sensory impacts, five senses, how it perceives this, whatever that's happened to me, or somebody said something to me, somebody cut me off on the road. My thought will arise out of this. I don't like this will be the thought, right? State of mind. Our minds are in three states of mind at any given time. Right now, you could have mental clarity, everything's clear, you're listening to me, undivided attention, or you could be distracted, doing multitasking, trying to do something else, and something triggers and you're going to a place of anxiety, right? So if you use the metaphor of the fire, the clarity is the light, anxiety is the heat of the fire, right? So sometimes we go into a place of anxiety without even us consciously knowing. It lets us know later that I'm something's bothering me, right? So your body is responding on autopilot when we are in that anxious space, and that mindless process is what stresses, that insidious stress is that we don't even realize that's harming us within us. And the third place is like the cloud, the smoke coming over you, body gets heavy, the mind gets heavy, usually happens in an afternoon, and that also happens on autopilot, we don't even realize it. When you're mindfully aware, when you have a general meditative awareness, you become aware of the states of your mind we're in, and you can then say, okay, for what I'm doing right now, the state of my mind has to go to a state of clarity. If I am asked to make a presentation and I'm tired and clouded over and heavy, it's not going to work for you. I'm going to have to interfere, even doing some physical exercise, getting the blood flow going to get more energy and then be able to go out there and do what you need to do. And the finally, state of health, your state of health and well being. If you're compromised with a bad cold or flu, it's going to affect your thought too. And that's when the emotion of fear, anger, or if happiness, joy, even on the other side, rises, and then you get into a mood. So, so mindfulness is about then a mental state achieved by focusing on our awareness in the present moment while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations. It is not about pushing away anger or fear. It's about facing that anger or fear head first. So it's not about getting rid of it. It's about accepting it. Yes, I'm angry, but I'm not going to react. Let me see how I can deal with this anger and dissipate it and then respond if possible. So that's what it is. So in terms of training the mind, it's about awareness, using that. Breath is the foundational, but you can do other things. You play guitar, you create awareness, but the thing is, the breath is a life force. If you include that, then that is becomes your superpower. But you can quiet your mind doing so many other things. Even fixing IKEA furniture can be a focus of your mind, but you bring the breath into it, becomes a superpower. Be present, train your mind to be calm and focused, strengthens mindful attention and self-awareness, and that may you make connection with yourself first. Feel connected, develop skills with strength, appreciation, kindness, compassion through building connection skills. That connection then is first with yourself, because we at most times harm ourselves, we don't honor ourselves, right? And then we gain insight, we understand the impermanence of life, we understand that everything is uncertain and volatile, and that we are not surprised by it, we're not blindsided by it. So then we can be curious, how can we then use my emotion and self inquiry, and to deal with the stresses that I have, I don't really pay attention to. And then once you focus also on a purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, whatever you're doing, you want to live well, you want to be happy, you want to be giving, you want to be generous, you want to be professional at what you do, staying motivated and strengthening the values and principles by learning them. So it's a holistic practice is what I'm saying. So the simple tool that I want to share with you is based on emotion is simply a feeling that arises when a need is met or not met. That's what it is. Just think about it. If you break it down, so I'm angry right now, and that feeling is nervousness. Is I'm feeling unhappy about something, right? And that has given rise to anger. And why did that unhappiness arise in me? It was because of a need was not met. A need for safety, perhaps, need for love, need for compassion, need for money, need for food. When those needs are not met, an emotion, a feeling will arise. So it's simply, if you take it to a logical, rational place, your emotion is simply a feeling and a need, right? But we kind of get really, we lose control thinking that emotion is something that's out there that we have no control over. So I'm sharing with you a simple little exercise, which is really how I brought on the take a deep breath and say observe practice from. So there are a few other questions that I ask myself. I call it the 4 questions for clarity. Take a deep breath, pause, and ask. If you ask yourself every so often, what am I observing right now? You stop your thought process. You will start seeing things. If you're in a bus, you start seeing other people's faces. You start seeing the blue sky. You start seeing a squirrel as soon as you say that. Because we are most often lost in thought. Our senses are going all over the place. As soon as you do this, you become present to the here and now. You gain control of your mind. And once you have control of your mind, you can say, okay, what am I feeling right now? What's going on in my mind right now? And that feeling could, then you can perhaps, it might be, you might able to say, I'm anxious about something. Why am I anxious? I'm anxious about something that's short term or something in the long term, my future, whatever it is. Whenever you put a light on that anxiousness, you dissipate that energy away from it. You can deconstruct it. You can deal with it a little better now. Yes, there's I'm thinking about the future. I'm thinking about paying my rent 6 months down the road, but you still have money at the moment to pay the rent. So yes, I need to do something. I need to be strategic, but I need to have a clear mind to be strategic, to worry about how I'm going to survive 6 months down the road. If I'm in a place of anxiety, I'm going to be compromised. I won't have the room to be innovative and creative, to find ways to make sure that I have enough money 6 months down the road, right? So this is the way of breaking those emotions from paralyzing you and gaining you space, right? But one of the things that you can do is also, if you're anxious, you can say, why am I anxious? You can ask the why several times, and you might end up in a place where, I can't answer that anymore. And that's a root cause. And that you can't go any further than that. Like what Jamie said about, I was worried. Why am I worried? Because I'm worried because I might lose a client, or I'll have to go and redo something, whatever it is. If you broke it down into pieces, immediately you would have thought, what I mean, I'm just going to forget about it. So it would have been easier for you to break away from that and go and have fun with your kids without worrying about it, because you now consciously shone a light on it and then dissipated that energy, and you said to yourself, you know what, tomorrow morning I will deal with it. And you told yourself that self-talk becomes important too. So again, what am I needing? As I realize the need has not been met with its acceptance, appreciation, safety, I'm feeling anxious. So when you identify that, after asking why, you dissipate that energy further. And what am I requesting myself to do can be the final then affirmation, because you've now unpacked your mind. Now I do have something, I'm going to share it with Jamie. Jamie can email you, or I don't know how to put it up. It's a PDF document of a list of feelings and needs. I have it by my bedside. I really try not to go to bed when I'm worrying about something. So if I'm anxious about something, I pick this up and I do this exercise, and I pick it up and I say, aha, it is that I'm worrying about. That's a feeling I'm that's arising in me. Because once you hone in on it, it takes the power away from it. And then I can turn the page, and the other side has a list of needs, basic human needs. When I can deconstruct it from there too, immediately I can now say to myself, you know what? At least I've attended to it. Problem hasn't gone away, but I have attended to it till tomorrow, because I have nothing I can do tonight by worrying about it, right? So this is a simple little practice I'm going to share with you, which can help you. Because see, the mess that's up there, as soon as you focus on your breath, you actually get rid of that mess. You become present to the here and now with awareness, and you have options. So that mess can take you down a garden path. So this is what I wanted to share with you today. I do have a quick video, if I can share that with you to finish off. Um, Let me see whether it can be. Um, I don't know whether uh, voice sound will come, but let's give it a try. If it doesn't come, I'll sh- show you his way. Let me see. Let me pick it up first. Okay, is it this? No, that's not the one. Any thoughts, any comments while I'm finding this video? I'm sorry, I just.
Well, I just want to say thank you for the time, Lalith. I believe that we all need a little bit of this. Some more than others, some days more than others. But it's good to be reminded of just some of these principles, and the way that you frame them, I think, makes them really easy for people to. I don't know. I always found like meditation seemed like something that was like, I don't know, far away from what I could achieve or what I wanted. But like when you frame it more the way that you are, which is sort of just like asking yourself those four questions and stuff, I just think it becomes an easier sort of way for people to just check themselves. And I think that's all this really is meant to be, is like, just in the same way that if you're looking after a kid, or you have to check in on them. Hey, how's it going? How are you feeling? How are you playing? Like, can I get you, are you hungry? Are you tired? Like those just basic emotions and those basic needs in life, we don't check ourselves enough, right? And so I think that this is a great way to just sort of check on yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, and it is not rocket science. It's a very simple little thing, and that's why we are seeking complicated solutions for what we perceive as complicated problems. Yeah, the problems may be complicated, but the solution is actually quite simple. And this is what we've got spoiled to do. So I'm just going to show you this quick video, which will it's about 4 or 5 minutes. Will take us to the end, and if we can, I'm happy to stay for another few minutes to answer questions or any comments. Jamie, you have anything happening at 1:30? You got to jump off.
Yeah, I do actually have to jump, but
Okay, okay. You need this link too, right?
yeah, I mean, I can, I'll share this video and any links or documents that you want,
Okay. So
into
yeah,
the
then
Bright
yeah,
Start
then
platform.
yeah,
So
yeah, I won't show the video because it might go over the time then. So it was a video in a conversation between of a conversation between Ian McGilchrist and another neuroscientist about the practice, and very simply explained some things to reinforce what I just said. So great. So just any thoughts from me before we leave?
No, thank you very much. Really appreciated it. It was it's a good little self check kind of thing. Like Jamie said, I think it's hopefully going to be very helpful with the rest of my challenges.
All the very best, Chester. Good luck to you. Yes, Anthony. Any thoughts from you?
No, it's good. I mean, I kind of hit the nail on the head. Last comment you made about forecasting. Like, well, it may happen, but doesn't happen. 3 4 months down the road. I have money. I have money for the next year, but I'm always thinking, well, if I don't get a new client next month or next month after that, you just keep on digging, right? But I said to myself, and I've seen it many times. I think we've talked about whether it's a Christian thing, I believe, or the universe. You have to hold on to the last minute sometimes, and something will happen. And I think that's where us as entrepreneurs, that's different than the typical salaried employee. It's a matter of, can you hold on to the last minute? Because it doesn't end, like you said, right? If you're distracted on thinking, well, you only have about 9 months left and you don't have enough. Well, between now and 9 months, you better do something about it versus worrying about, because then for sure nothing's going to happen, right? And it's still that practice of how do you keep really focused to just, you know, do it, right? And really
Yeah,
believe in yourself that it's going to happen,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Excellent, Anthony. I'm glad you got something out of this. So, too, all the very best to you too. And Moses,
Yeah, I've been to a few of your talks now, and I've always enjoyed how you lay out information for us, and the way that you said it about the different arrows, and actually being able to catch it before it becomes a real problem is something that's going to be very helpful in terms of addressing, like, there's you can't do anything about the initial contact, but once you build yourself in and prepare for the reaction, you can stop the emotion, and I think that's going to be very helpful.
great, 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 Moses. Thank you again. Again, you're not going to stop the emotion, but you're going to manage and govern the emotion, right? So that's
Yeah.
what it is. Yes, yes. No, fantastic. Thank you, Jamie, for the opportunity for doing this. I'm happy to continue doing this over the next time, and as we market it, and maybe others can join in too. So it's my labor of love, and this is my gift really to everybody here. So all right, so have a wonderful afternoon and rest of the week, and enjoy the snow out there.
Yeah,
Spring,
I don't know
old
where
man,
that came from.
yeah, old man winter is refusing to leave. So I just don't want to be there to want it to be there tomorrow when I'm driving to Montreal. So take care, everyone. All the best, Jamie.
Thanks,
Bye.
Lalith.
Bye to you.
The
Take
Thanks,
care.
guys.
community
Thanks,
is
Chris.
very
All right.
blessed to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Bye.